How's it going, guys? Noah here with Youngblood MMA, back at it again. We are about a week away from UFC 311, Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan 2, and I am hyped. I'm about to break down my picks for this absolute banger of a card. Before we dive into my predictions here, I'm going to give a quick shout out to a video I have up on my channel explaining the fighter grading system. It's how I break down these matchups, so check that out if you haven't. I'll be using that actively throughout this video. You'll see that some of these fighters have a grade 1 through 10. So that'll help you understand how I get to that point. But let's just get down to business. First up, we've got Kevin Holland taking on Reinier de Ridder. RDR, if you don't know RDR, this guy was a monster in one championship. Seriously, you guys need to go back. Watch some of his fights. They're on YouTube. He's relentless. He's got those crazy takedowns, insane top pressure. Think Khamzat Chimaev, but just taller, lankier. He's got a ton of finishes. And his UFC debut against Mearshart was pretty recent. He was on the Carlos Prates Neil Magny fight night. And, he fought Gerald Mearshart. It was a little underwhelming. He still got a rear naked choke. So I am expecting some serious heat, some serious grappling exchanges here. Two highly skilled guys going at it. And I honestly don't see this one going the distance. I'm hoping for an absolute banger, and I'm leaning toward probably a round 2, round 3 KO in the favor of Reinier de Ridder. And I know Kevin has decent takedown defense. I'm not trashing the guy. I haven't been super impressed with him lately, so we're going to see what happens. Obviously, mentality has a play in the fight. And in the last fight he had at UFC 307 against Roman Dolidze, he just looked pretty defeated. I know he got kicked pretty hard in the ribs, and I was picking Dolidze to win, but overall just haven't been super impressed with him. I think the last time I really felt confident in Kevin Holland, at least enough to pick him, was against Olan Zacic. And, he got that sick armbar, made me some good money on that one on Prize Picks. So, I'm still sticking by it. RDR by KO or finish. Here's an interesting bout, and I actually am excited that we have two lightweight bouts in the top 10 on the main card for UFC 311. So it'll really build into the narrative for what's to come in the future of the lightweight division. And we got two veterans here in lightweight. Beneil Dariush, my Assyrian brother, and he's taking on Renato Money Moicano. And Moicano needs this win, man. He needs that money. He cannot afford to lose. And my opinion is he's got to keep that momentum going. He's on a good run right now. He wins against Beneil Dariush. That's 5 wins in a row. That's huge for his career. And I think Moicano still has got that Brazilian cardio, that Brazilian prime, that youthful energy. And he's in his late 30s here. He's still performing at high levels. Dariush, on the other hand, he's had some, tough losses recently. Those back-to-back KOs against Arman Tsarukyan, against Charles Oliveira. And he's been out for, a while, a year, maybe a year and a half now. And, it sounds like he's not feeling super confident. But, I really do hope that he sticks with it. But for this fight, I do have to go with Moicano. This guy's hungry. He needs a win, too. He really could use this win. I think it would do wonders for his career and his wallet. And I think he's going to capitalize on that. No pun intended. So I'm going with Moicano by KO. He's been tagging guys lately, and Dariush has absorbed some big shots in his recent fight. So I'm picking Moicano by knockout. Now, this is a light heavyweight fight we've been waiting for. Yuri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill in an epic rivalry. We've been anticipating this ever since Yuri vacated his belt and Jamal Hill became the champion at UFC 283. And both guys, they've held UFC gold. They've both been brutally knocked out by Alex Pereira. These guys are fantastic strikers. They're really fun to watch. They're very entertaining in the cage. And you got Jamal Hill. Jamal, he's got that perfect boxing, those great knees, great kicks, consistently just peppering his opponents. And then there's Prochazka. This guy, his striking style is very unique. Doesn't really focus too much on his defense, just more on his offense as well as his level changes. Fighting Yuri is almost harder and more awkward than fighting a southpaw. He is a true wild card, and he's kind of like Dricus du Plessis. They got that untamed energy. Yuri's more like a wildcat waiting for that perfect opportunity to pounce and let go of those hands. And then you got Dricus du Plessis. He's more of a wildebeest, or I heard somewhere online someone compared him to a gorilla on roller skates, and I swear to God, I can't freaking unsee it. It's just really funny. But this is a 3-round fight. It changes things up. If it were a 5-round fight, I'd have to give the cardio advantage to Jamal Hill. It gives him more time to find that KO shot as well. But in 3 rounds, I really think that Yuri, his pressure, it just might be too much. And I'd love to see a finish, but I'm going to go with Prochazka, probably by decision. And I usually don't go that route, especially with like light heavyweight. I usually lean more towards getting a finish here, but I think they're going to be playing it a little safe. Yuri, he really wants to get back and get a 3rd fight against, Alex Burr, or at least get another title shot opportunity. And then Jamal Hill, he just really wants to avenge that embarrassing, humiliating loss to Alex Burr. And, I just think that Yuri Prochazka is just going to be more assertive. He's going to control the pace. He's going to be in charge in the ring. And I think he's going to do a better job at imposing his game plan. Meanwhile, I think Jamal Hill, he's going to be hunting for that one big shot. And I don't think he's going to fight it in 3 rounds. I really don't. It's a tough call, honestly. I really struggled with making a pick for this particular matchup. But I am going with Yuri. Okay. 2 title fights on this card. Absolutely insane. Let's talk about Merab Dvalishvili defending his bantamweight title against Umar Nurmagomedov. And if you have not seen Merab fight, you need to. This guy is the cardio king. They call him the machine for a reason, and he just doesn't stop moving. He's like the Energizer Bunny. This guy needs to be sponsored by like bounce houses or trampoline companies. Umar Nurmagomedov, on the other hand, undefeated record, and some might want to weigh in what's more valuable. Having a UFC belt, being the champion, or being an undefeated fighter. Umar, he's only had 1 fight in the top 15, and that was against Corey Sandhagen, and he dominated. It was like a 50-45 or something like that, went the full 5 rounds, looked incredible. His cardio looked great. It's a little bit different from Merab's, but the thing with Umar is he's actively looking to finish and end the fight. And Merab's cardio is just different. This guy can bounce for like 25 minutes straight. It's a tough fight to pick because both guys are so well-rounded. And I was initially leaning toward Merab Dvalishvili. I think Umar does have the edge here. He might not have Merab's cardio, but he's right up there. Because this is a grappler versus grappler sort of matchup, these are real mixed martial artists. I think they're going to end up in a stalemate in the grappling. So I do see them on the feet, in the striking. I think Umar just has that crack. He's better on the feet. He's actually pretty impressive for a Dagestani. And, like I said, he's actively hunting for the finish. And I put a lot of weight on that. Are they looking to get the kill? How can you pick against that? I'm going to go with Umar. Umar by decision. I don't think we're going to get a finish. Probably like a, 48-47. And I think they'll just cancel each other out on the grounds. Finally, here we are. The main event of the evening. You got Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. And this is a rematch from way back in their careers. And I'm throwing that first fight out the window. They both evolved incredibly. Islam arguably the pound for pound #1 in the UFC. Some people might debate that, but he's up there. And, let me tell you something. This guy's incredibly aggressive. He's got great distance management. He's very well-rounded. And Tsarukyan, in his last fight against Charles Oliveira, showed he's not afraid to grapple with anybody. His grappling is impressive. He recently had mentioned that he's got this special move or special technique that's going to work on Islam Makhachev. And usually I write that off. I don't believe it. I usually pick that guy to lose. And hear me out here, right? Hear me out. Arman is not just any fighter. His grappling is so good. He could hang with Islam Makhachev. He could hang with Charles Oliveira. And to top it off, he's got that Caucasus Mountain mentality. He understands what it's going to take to have to beat Islam Makhachev. And let me tell you, he's had a whole year to figure this out. You had Islam, he was out for months. I think he just started recently training in maybe November probably, maybe last month. But let me circle back, right? Because I want to talk a little bit about Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. Charles was getting him in some dangerous spots. And, I felt like Charles could have finished a couple of those submissions. Here's the thing. I think if Islam gets Arman in a submission attempt, it's probably game over. I'm going to say like 75-90% chance. I think Islam sinks it in. And I think Arman knows that. I hope he's learning from that experience. You know, this is going to be Islam's toughest test to date. I believe if Arman uses a similar strategy to Volkanovski in the first Islam fight, I think he could have a real chance here. But here's the thing that's in the back of my mind. Islam's been training with Umar Nurmagomedov. He's been training with Usman Nurmagomedov, who are both fighting for titles around the same time. You got Umar on the same night, and Khabib's got his hands full. You got Islam wanting to do his own thing at camp, kind of running loose. So, you know, that's a lot going on, and I really hope that Islam Makhachev, that he's staying focused on this fight and hasn't been distracted, or at least too distracted. I know Arman has been laser focused on Islam since he got the call. And, you know, both these guys, they got power, they got the durability, they got the cardio. And, you know, even in the Poirier fight, Islam didn't look his absolute best. I think he was, dealing with a staph infection just like weeks prior. But there are just a lot of factors to consider here. You know, I mapped everything out. I watched a ton of fights. I know the odds favor Islam, but the truth is that I'm taking a risk here. I know the odds favor Islam, but the truth is that I'm going with Arman Tsarukyan by decision. I am taking a risk that nobody else is willing to take. I believe he's like a plus 350 underdog or something like that. Like a 4-1 underdog. All I'm saying is if Arman Tsarukyan, he comes in with a smart game plan and has worked on his cardio, I think he can pull off the upset here. I'm not saying Arman Tsarukyan is the best fighter overall. I think sometimes on fight night, it's all about who performs best. And, you know, I have a feeling that Arman is going to bring his A game. And Islam, he might not be at his absolute peak. And so, you know, they'll probably end up having a rematch. And Islam is more than likely going to take his belt right back. I think it's, you know, maybe 1 in 3, 1 in 4 chance that Arman Tsarukyan pulls a win on Islam Makhachev. It doesn't change the fact that I personally believe that Arman Tsarukyan is going to pull the upset on January 18th in LA. UFC 311. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that notification bell. I'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned.